Hi, my name is Dominic Phillips, and I have been asked by your company, Blue Buffalo, to answer the question, what is the core components of a virtual machine and how they can be used in a business setting? I will also answer two other questions later in this video. A virtual machine is, well, just that. It's a machine, but it's completely virtualized. It runs through a hypervisor, and a hypervisor sits either directly on top of the hardware. This is called a bare metal hypervisor or type 1. The second type is a hypervisor that sits on top of an existing operating unit, such as my Windows 11 computer. All the processors and the memory and the RAM of a virtual machine is used through physical components, but it's all virtualized and can be used for multiple virtual machines. I can use my say 8-core processor to run 4 cores of a virtual processor and 4 cores on another processor. I can take my 16 gigabytes of RAM and split that between two, maybe even three different virtual machines. Another core component of a virtual machine is the storage. The storage is like RAM and a CPU is virtual, used from a physical device, such as say my 1 terabyte hard drive may be used as 500 gigabytes in these two different virtual machines. Virtual machine has management tools. One of these is found in Azure, Microsoft Azure, and helps you to allocate the resources necessary for a virtual machine. Say you don't want your virtual machine to be on after 10 p.m. every day, you can create an auto shutdown feature to shut down the virtual machine after 10 p.m. every single day. It can also be used in a business setting to help with disaster recovery, because we know disasters occur all the time. However, we need to be prepared for them, and virtual machines help with that. Virtual machines don't just include um, operating systems; they also include servers and and storage. And with that, it allows a business to store all their files and storage in a virtual place where it can be copied to the physical and then also sent to a cloud, which is also virtual. The next question I want to answer is the different server roles in future. Server roles are what the how the server plays in a corporation, and what it will do. For example, a DNS server, when I type in google.com, it'll take me to the IP address of google.com. When I go to, say, bluebuffalo.org /Dominic Dunaway or Dominic Phillips, it'll take me to the storage file of Dominic Dunaway or Phillips. Another server role is the DHP server. DHP server allows the IP addresses to be automatically assigned throughout the network, and it can also help with preventing more than the necessary amount of users to access the DHCP or the internet or the network. Now, a server future is what complements the role. It's something like Windows PowerShell, where you can input something, say IP/release, and it would release the IP config that computer is currently assigned to through the DHCP. If you were to do IP config/renew, you'd get a brand new IP address from the DHCP server. For example, if I had trouble with my routers the other day, and one thing that I could have done is done the IP config/release and then renew, and I could have gotten a whole new IP address and might have actually fixed the issue I was having. And this allowed for, and having that allows for the troubleshooting process to occur. to allow us to fix the problems that will happen. Now, the final question is, domains are a fundamental component of a company's infrastructure, and you have asked me to explain the primary purpose of Active Directory and how it facilitates user and resource management within a domain. The primary purpose of Active Directory and how it facilitates user and resource management within a domain is actually to manage the resources that users have access to. How it facilitates that is through the use of GPOs and organizational units. In Active Directory, you can put users in different groups, in different organizational units, and assign those organizational units different GPOs or group policy objects, which allow for restrictions to happen. I can restrict the entire domain to have a password set that resets every single day, or that they need to change every single day, which you probably don't want to change every single day because people are slow to forget. But other things I could do is I could have the wallpaper of the entire of the enzyme.org or the buffalo.corp Active Directory domain to have a wallpaper that says Blue Buffalo on the back, or a picture of an image of a blue buffalo. Through Active Directory, you can also set what files each user and group has access to by going to the File Explorer and going into security settings and putting in what groups need to have full access or the different types of access for that file. And those are the basics of those questions: a virtual machine and its core components and how it applies to a business setting, the server role and features and how to tell the difference. Again, for that one, the server role is what it does. For example, DHCP server acts as the DHCP, and the Windows PowerShell acts as a feature because it helps in making the DHCP run. And then lastly, we talked about Active Directory and how it facilitates users and manages resources. And once again, my name is Dominic Phillips. Thank you for watching my interview.